Chapter 1. The Quiet Room and the Tapping Sound. The only lights in the room were purple and blue, glowing softly from long tubes on the wall. They made Jintsy's desk look like a spaceship control panel, ready for an adventure among the stars. But the adventure was over for the night. His big, comfy chair was pushed back. His headset, which had been full of his friends' voices and the booms and zaps of the rainbow game, was sitting silently on its hook. The computer screen was asleep, a dark mirror reflecting the quiet room. Outside the window, the city was settling down for the night, its millions of lights twinkling like fallen stars. The loudest sound was the gentle hum of the computer, breathing in and out like a sleeping giant. Jitsy stretched his arms high above his head, and his back made a little popping noise. He had been sitting for a very long time, playing the game with his team. They had won some, and they had lost some. He could still feel the echo of his own excited voice in the quiet room. But now, all that energy was gone, replaced by a deep, sleepy quiet. Then he heard it. A tiny sound, tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the window. Jitsy frowned. Was it a branch from the big tree outside? No, the branches were too far away. Tap, tap, tappity tap. It was a small, insistent sound. It wasn't scary, just curious. He got up from his chair and walked over to the window, pulling the curtain aside just a little bit. On the narrow ledge outside, shivering in the cool night air, sat a tiny creature. It was a kitten, no bigger than his hand. It had fur the color of a dusty shadow, with 4 white paws that looked like little socks. Its eyes were big and green, and they were looking right at him. It tapped its paw against the glass one more time, a tiny plea for warmth. Chapter 2. The Empty Mug and a Rule. Jitsy slowly, carefully, unlocked the window and slid it open just enough for the kitten to squeeze through. The little creature hesitated for only a second before hopping into the room, landing silently on the carpet. It immediately began to shake, not just from the cold, but from being in a new, strange place. Jitsy closed the window, shutting out the night breeze. He didn't move. He just sat on the floor a few feet away, letting the kitten get used to the room. The kitten looked at the glowing purple lights, its ears twitching. It looked at the big, comfy chair. It looked at Jitsy. Then it let out a tiny, squeaky meow. It sounded like a rusty door hinge. The kitten looked thirsty. Jitsy stood up and went to his small kitchen area. He didn't have a bowl for a kitten. He looked at his plates and his tall glasses. Then he saw his favorite mug, the one with the picture of a silly-looking penguin on it. He rinsed it out carefully and filled the bottom with a little bit of cool water from the tap. He placed the mug on the floor. The kitten crept forward, sniffed the water, and began to drink, its tiny pink tongue lapping at the surface. As he watched, Jitsy remembered something. A rule. His landlord, Mr. Henderson, who lived in the apartment just downstairs, had a very big, very clear rule. No pets. Jitsy had seen the sign on the wall when he first moved in. Mr. Henderson was a kind man, but he was a man who loved rules. Sometimes, Jitsy could hear him through the floor, humming as he polished his collection of antique clocks. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Mr. Henderson liked things to be quiet and orderly. A tiny, meowing kitten was not quiet or orderly. Jitsy knew they would have to be very, very careful. Chapter 3. The Glowing Cafe and a Tired Student. The water seemed to help, but the kitten still looked hungry. It nudged its empty little head against Jintsy's leg, and its tummy let out a quiet rumble. Jitsy knew he had nothing a kitten could eat. Cereal? No. A leftover piece of pizza? Definitely not. He gently scooped the kitten up. It was so light, it felt like holding a fluffy cloud. The kitten snuggled into the front of his warm hoodie, peeking its head out just enough to see. Jitsy zipped the hoodie up carefully, making a cozy little pouch. "Okay," he whispered. "Operation Find Some Milk is a go." He slipped out of his apartment, making sure the door closed with a soft click instead of a loud thud. He tiptoed down the hallway, past Mr. Henderson's quiet door, and out into the night. The street was mostly empty. A single taxi drove by, its yellow light painting a long stripe on the wet pavement. A block away, there was a warm, welcoming glow. It was Maria's cafe, a little place that was open all night. The big front window was steamy and warm, and inside, Jitsy could see Maria herself, a woman with a kind, smiling face and hair the color of salt and pepper, wiping down the counter. The bell on the door jingled softly as he entered. The cafe smelled wonderful, like coffee and cinnamon and warm bread. Only one other person was there, a young woman sitting at a corner table, surrounded by a mountain of books. Her name was Clara. She was always here late at night, studying. She looked very tired, and she was tapping her pen against her notebook in a slow, sleepy rhythm. Maria looked up from her work. "Jinxie, a late night for you too," she said, her voice warm and friendly. "Did you win the big game?" Jinxie smiled. "Sometimes you win, Maria, and sometimes you just learn." Chapter 4. A saucer of warmth and a quiet joke. "Well, a learning lesson deserves a treat," Maria said, gesturing to the glass case of pastries. "What can I get for you?" Jinxie unzipped his hoodie just a little, and a tiny, fluffy head with big green eyes peeked out. Maria's eyes widened, and then her smile grew even warmer. "Oh my," she whispered. "It looks like you have found a new teammate." "He's hungry," Jinxie said quietly. "I didn't know what to do. I was wondering if I could maybe buy a little milk." Maria just shook her head, tutting softly. "You don't buy milk for a little one like that. It is a gift." She bustled to the back and came back not with a cup but with a small saucer. She poured a little bit of milk into it and placed it in the microwave for just 5 seconds. "Not hot, not cold," she explained. "Just right." She handed him the saucer and a napkin. At the other table, Clara, the student, looked up from her books. She hadn't seemed to be paying attention, but she gave Jinxie a small, tired smile. "Be careful," Clara said, her voice soft from studying all night. "My brother brought one of those home. First, it's a saucer of milk. Next thing you know, it's asking to use your headset and blamming its losses on lag." Jinxie laughed quietly. Maria shooed him toward the door. "Go on before it gets cold. Take this too." She wrapped a warm chocolate chip cookie in a napkin and pushed it into his hand. "For the brave team captain." Chapter 5. The secret in the hoodie box. Jinxie walked back through the quiet streets, holding the saucer of warm milk as if it were a precious treasure. The city felt different now. It didn't feel lonely. It felt like a big, sleeping place full of secret kindnesses. He was extra quiet going back up the stairs, listening for any sound from Mr. Henderson's apartment. But all was silent, not even a single tick-tock. Back in his room, he closed the door and let the kitten out of his hoodie. He placed the saucer on the floor, and the kitten, who he decided to name Pixel, ran right to it. The sound of Pixel lapping up the warm milk was the only sound in the room. It was a happy, comforting sound. When the milk was all gone, Pixel looked sleepy. Jinxie found an empty box that his headset had come in. He took his softest black hoodie, the one he wore on chilly nights, and folded it up inside, making a perfect little bed. He gently placed Pixel inside. The kitten curled into a tiny ball on the soft fabric, gave a little sigh, and immediately fell asleep. Jinxie sat in his big chair, eating his cookie. He looked at his giant computer screen, the keyboard, and the mouse he used to play his games. Then he looked at the small cardboard box on the floor where a tiny, fluffy creature was sleeping safely. The feeling in his chest was better than winning any game. It was a quiet, warm feeling. He had a new secret. He had a new friend.